Geek Out! Hey, welcome to another installment of From Geek Out with Love. I'm Sam.
I'm Jake.
I'm Rich.
I'm Garrett.
And we're going to go all in on the final film of the longest serving, at least in terms of entries of film, tenure of any Bond, the Roger Moore era, which ran from 1973 to 1985 with 7 films. This is film numero 7. That is to say 1985's A View to a Kill. Certainly a swan song. You know, Roger Moore steps down, not necessarily because he's fired, but because he's like 58 years old when the movie comes out. This is a film that I would say is not only the worst Bond film of the 80s, but one of the worst. It's right down there with The Man with the Golden Gun as worst Roger Moore film for me, and it's one of the worst. It's not my least favorite, but it's among the worst Bond movies. I don't know if you guys how you guys would rank this one accordingly.
Not good.
It's not up there.
It's pretty bad. I mean, yeah.
I remember there was some debate the last episode. Is this better or worse than Octopussy? And at the time, some of us were like, well, at least we remember shit from A View to a Kill. Like, Octopussy is just not memorable. But I feel like A View to a Kill, outside of 2 elements, which I'll share in a moment, is remembered for all the wrong reasons. Like, I think the first thing that people think of with View to a Kill is, oh, that's that's a fucking terrible movie, and 2, that's like Roger Moore's like ancient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And 3, that's Christopher Walken.
Yep.
Christopher Walken is one of the 2 elements that quote unquote saves, or as close as it gets to this film. Because Garrett, I think you had this thesis about how this film informs the Christopher Walken career, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of I don't know, I feel like he goes absolutely nuts in this role. I mean, as far as Bond villains goes, this is one of the most over the top and just like casually murderous villains that in the entire series. I mean, how many people does he try, like, let alone succeed in killing? How many more does he try to kill just, because he feels like it? And it's that kind of over the top insanity that, bleeds into every role that he takes from then on,
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a relatively mundane role. But I feel like this is kind of the genesis of that, where he's like, oh, you can act like a complete nut and people will pay you to do it. Why the fuck not?
It's like Pacino when he did Scent of a Woman, and he never broke free of Colonel Slade.
He's in the dock here.
Yeah. Charlie! Take a flamethrower to this place.
She's driving with one very happy man. The difference is that...
No, let's just keep quoting Scent of a Woman. That'll be more fun.
The difference is, though, Pacino wins
an
the
Oscar.
Academy Award for that film.
The History of My Skin by Charlie Sim.
I would actually argue that Maximum Pacino starts with Dick Tracy.
Oh, Big Boy?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he kind of embodies that voice of Colonel Slade for a while, and he's that, I mean, that's not even that really true. But yeah, the fact that he takes Big Boy Caprice, just reshapes this entire character, and then gets nominated for an Oscar for it.
That's right. Everybody forgets, and I promise.
Did you bums forget how to kill people?
Yeah.
I want Dick Tracy dead. I want Dick Tracy dead is one of why is that not one of the great lines in cinema history? Like,
why is that not on the Oscar reel? That got nominated for best supporting.
Oh yeah. When they're doing like the legacy of Al Pacino's career, and they're like showing all the great moments. You're out of order. This whole courtroom's out of order. I want Dick Tracy dead. Dick, is it okay if I call you Dick? You stupid Dick.
With this film,
She had a great eye.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Heat. Hell yeah.
That's
brother.
Yeah, I will put.
We still need to film that.
Redo the diner?
Redo the diner scene shot by shot and line by line.
That means I got to be De Niro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which acts basically.
Yeah.
That's the discipline.
Yeah, that's the discipline.
Because I ain't going back.
Yeah.
I'm not going back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will not hesitate to put you down. Because if it's between, I don't remember this. It was like, if it's between you and some sword sack with a wife and kid. Brother, I'm taking you down. That movie, though, is the fucking best.
Oh,
dude.
I own that movie on Vudu twice.
Oh, Heat is so freaking good, man. So good.
To be fair to all of our listeners in Denmark, this particular episode would probably be more entertaining if we discussed Al Pacino for the next 35 minutes than if we discussed A View to a Fucking Kill.
Oh, I'm game.
Yeah, Rich and I sat down and watched this, and I think we were both, by the end, kind of like, we knew going in it wasn't going to be great. But when we left, we were just kind of like, well, it was like the Incredible Hulk TV show theme playing, like there's just a sad piano. As like Rich was just like, I gotta go.
It's like what, like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something? I mean, it's
You
not
feel it.
Yeah,
You feel
it's not a short movie.
Can we talk about, a lot of is made to do about, let me say what the other redeeming thing is. Christopher Walken, so the first and foremost, Christopher Walken is Max Zorin.
Yeah.
Entertaining performance. There are some lines that I knew were coming. I was like, get ready for it, Rich. And just like, I'm happiest in the saddle. And then the scene just like it just ends. Like there should be, the way he says it, like Christopher Walken now does. You think there's going to be more.
Mm-hmm.
But
he always leaves. It's like a cliffhanger. Everything he says.
I find the computer to be indispensable. Of course, the more power line.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and he just loves shooting people.
Yeah.
What was that one guy when he's like, if that's the case, that means I have to be dead, and he's like, yes, and then he just shoots him. And the glee with like the elevator fire scene, the glee of Christopher Walken as shit's burning.
Yeah. Oh, he's supposed to play the role as psychotic or somebody that enjoys killing, and he does.
Is this also I don't even know what the word is, but like the most ridiculous moment where they get away with saying the title of the movie? Like it's just
They certainly underline
it's
it.
so like it's so ridiculous. I don't know why it bugs
The only
me.
thing they were missing was a wink and like an elbow nudge.
Yeah, like I said, if you watch, I swear to God, there's a moment in Christopher Walken's eyes where he kind of looks around like, fuck. Yeah.
What a view.
I mean, that's the moment that this guy's giving it his all to deliver that line somehow.
And he's
rationally.
already won the Academy Award at this point.
That's right, for Deer Hunter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he won Best Supporting.
And up until what Christopher Walken was, Christoph Waltz was the next villain to be an Oscar winner, right? I know that's like a loaded question. There's like a lot of villains in between, but I feel like that was like a trivia thing for a long time. That Christopher Walken.
No, Javier Bardem.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, okay, yeah, Javier Bardem. Yep. And then Al Pacino when he plays the bad guy in Bond 25. Mr. Bond, take a fucking seat, Mr. Bond. He's like, this is a PG-13 movie. Fuck you. I own the fucking 70s. It's like, it's 2018, Mr. Pacino.
He's in Jack and Jill.
Oh yeah. Was it the Dunkachino? I've never seen that movie, but I've seen the scene because I've YouTubed it. The best, because I've never seen Jack and Jill. But the scene in that movie, Jack and Jill. The scene in that movie that's fucking astounding is when I think it's Jill, goes over to Al Pacino's place
because Al Pacino's in love with Adam Sandler's
Jill, and she accidentally breaks one of his Oscars.
Well, his only.
Well, that's the joke. Where she's like, she breaks one of his Oscars, and she's like, "Oh, it's okay. You probably have more lying around." He's like, "You would think." So I was like, "Hey, props." It's a funny line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Christopher Walken, I'm trying to think the moment where I realize he's going for broke. Because I feel like for me it happens before the title drop.
Yeah. No, I mean, the title drop is not going for broke. That's like one of the weirder, more stable moments of the movie for him. Because like normally she'd be like, "A view," and he's like, "To a kill," like screaming. But instead he's like, "To a kill," like whispering it in his ear. Like, he's whispering in the pilot's ear
when he's kickboxing with.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's
fair.
the creepiest shit.
That is
like like how just sweaty, like aroused. Max Zorin is like the fucking worst. Like there's lots, but that's like That's certainly the low point for Christopher Walken in
And
this film.
for real though, in terms of Bond villains,
He's entertaining.
he's pretty darn fucking entertaining. You know what I mean? Like,
I thought about this on the walk home. Like after I watched it with Sam, I walked home and he's
just wander
kinda
the
like
streets for hours
with the big blonde hair and the persona. He's kind of like if Ric Flair was a Bond. He's a horse riding, like wheeling and dealing, scene stealing.
limousine driver rider. She's like, it's a view, and he's like, woo! Doesn't even deliver the line.
Yeah.
In my $25,000 Rolex.
Can we talk about how he like the last thing he does is laugh as he dies?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like he realizes another one of my favorite moments is like they're like about to try, like they think they're about to blow up Silicon Valley or flood Silicon Valley, basically do the plot on a smaller scale of Superman the movie. And which I think Rich said as much when we were watching it, when like they unveiled the master scheme. He's like, oh, is this, I forgot it's just Superman the movie.
Yeah, pretty much.
And like the Nazi scientist man is just like, we're about to trigger the worst natural disaster of the 20th century, and it'll all be attributed to natural causes. And Christopher Walken laughs and just goes, exactly.
Can we talk about the theme song though?
That's the other thing.
That's what I thought.
That's the best part of the movie.
It's fucking great.
It's like, it's the moment where it isn't For Your Eyes Only. It isn't Octopussy. It's the second Duran Duran kicks on that you know James Bond is in the 1980s.
And James Bond is... I mean, it's funny because like this should be like James Bond is cool, but then it cuts to 58-year-old Roger Moore, or I guess it's before, snowboarding to a Beach Boys cover.
Well, yeah.
You know, but like, yeah, it
yes,
is
a cover because they couldn't afford the Beach Boys.
It is ushering in, like, very much the 80s Bond. I mean, like, you get, like, arguably at the time the biggest band in the world.
You know, I've seen some people cite this as the movie that popularized snowboarding. I don't believe that for a fucking second.
I saw, I was reading, I was like to read some of the IMDb stuff, and I saw that on there, I was like, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, none of us were.
There's just a guy, like, eating, like, ramen noodles, watching the movie, he's like, Jesus fucking Christ, you can do that? Get my skis! And he just, like, has one ski, and he's sliding down.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
Fuck. But yeah, and it's, I think the big thing that's always made of this movie, not the fact that the plot sucks, not the fact that, like, even, like, the cinematography and editing is fucking garbage.
It's the worst. It's probably the worst edited Bond I can think of.
Well, remember how the movie ends? So they're like fucking in the shower, and then like Roger,
and then it ends.
Yeah, Roger Moore's making like all these like ooh ah noises, which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
but he's also like, and then like Rich was saying, it just cuts to credits. There's no fade out. There's no like just ooh. Yeah.
Ooh. A view to a ooh. Sorry, I just hit the microphone.
Or when Grace Jones gets into bed and she's like standing at the end of the bed, and then all of a sudden there's like a little blip and she's on top of Roger Moore.
Yeah, she teleports on top of Roger Moore.
When I watched this movie as a kid, that scene where she sacrifices herself, I was like, I didn't see that a lot in movies, like, because she's built up to be, the big bad, like in terms of like a Jaws.
She's on all the posters.
Yeah. The poster's pretty great with them back to back.
Yeah, I prefer that's the British poster. The American poster is the one with them on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yes, yeah, classic as well. But yeah, her like realizing, oh, Zorn's a piece of shit, doesn't care about me, and she like sacrificed. I always thought that was kind of like cool. I dug that.
That's not a bad moment.
No, I thought. I mean, I'm reaching here, Sam. I'm fucking reaching. I thought that was that has always stuck with me. I like that moment.
There is a couple. That's. There's also a couple moments in that sequence where like Bond is ready to like sacrifice himself. Mm-hmm. He's like, I will. He's like, leave me down in like this weird like Temple of Doom pit full of paper bag bombs. I'll be fine. And she's like, no, you get on. And then when they're like wheeling it out, he's originally like, she's like, no, I need to hold the handbrake. And then she lets him. She doesn't jump off. With him.
Because she needs to. Another moment, a really tiny moment, because I feel like we're gonna be like it's gonna be a movie searching for tiny moments. I always love whenever they reference other agents, other 00 agents, and is it 003 that's dead in the beginning?
Yeah.
That's who they're looking for in Siberia.
Yeah, and just a little touch where like they got the locket
Yes.
with his family in there.
Yeah.
It's fucking dark, man.
It is. And Roger Moore just kind of like, well, I guess he keeps the locket because he shows it off right before he, bangs that chick in the ice submarine that looks like a penis.
Oh man. Well, I mean, because I guess what in Octopussy we get what 00 is it? I always forget. 9.
Yep.
Yeah, and we get 003 in this one. I don't know. I've always liked like just that the building of like there's other 00 agents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they're always dead. But like
Usually.
I mean, there's the scene in
where
Thunderball
they're all gathered.
Where they're all gathered.
There's another scene in The World Is Not Enough where they're all gathered too.
I wish they would like mess around with that more. You know what I mean? Like introduce like
we don't see any 00s during the Craig era so far.
Yeah, I don't think we do. They mention it in Spectre, right? When he steals the car.
Beginning of Skyfall.
Is it Skyfall when he steals the?
Oh, was it another 00 agent or was it just an intelligence dude that was like fucking dying?
Might have been just an intelligence dude. He doesn't refer to him as a 00. He refers to him by his name.
They do, I think, refer to it's 009 because he steals the car, right? Is that 009's car? So they reference a 00 in Spectre. Spectre?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Anytime. Hey, look, anybody who ever makes a James Bond movie out there, even if it's terrible, if you throw in a nod to a 00 agent, I'll like that scene.
But how not great does Roger? I mean, physically, like shoulders down, he looks the best he's been since like Moonraker.
He still can rock, the tux, and I think he does the white top in this too. Right?
He does during
the white top.
yeah.
Yep.
The Christopher Walken happiest in the saddle line as well. He's wearing this.
But there's also a certain extent to which he's just kind of like, well, I'm here. Fuck it. Fuck it. Let's go. And like there is a certain amount of not giving a shit that combined with, certain other things in the movie, Christopher Walken's insanity and all that shit. I don't think this is the worst Roger Moore performance or the Roger Moore movies. In fact, I think it's better than a lot of them. I just think there's so much other shit going on in this movie that's like Christopher Walken and Roger Moore couldn't save this. I don't know what could. If
Moore was younger, would that have helped this movie, or is it there's just so many other things wrong with it that didn't even matter? It just made it worse.
Mechanically, there were so many things that were wrong with this movie.
Yeah,
like just from the way that it was shot, from the editing standpoint, like even the bill, like Sam and I talked about this, for as neurotic and over the top and awesome as Walken is to watch, and he's a lot of fun to watch. It seems like outside of Goldfinger, whenever they like the Bond movies go for the larger than life villain, it always falls flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's become such a Bondism that like they can't do that anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they did that to themselves. And then of course everything, all the parodies and satires that spin out of it. But, yeah, I'm trying to think like, is Walken the last of like that big,
certainly of the 80s
boisterous? Yeah, because I mean the next two, the Dalton era, he never had like the super
over the top.
He had like violent and like more realistic.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess Living Daylights, you get that one general or whatever.
Yeah, but he's
like
more
goofy.
Yeah, he's more flamboyant than he is over the top.
Sure.
I would say Carver was over the top, and Tomorrow Never Dies. He was a larger than life figure. A world renowned news guy.
Yeah. Whereas like 006 was always just a then 006 was just a dark reflection of what Bond could be in a post Cold War world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And certainly
Dominic Green knew who he was.
Yeah.
Oh, the sounds he makes during the axe fight are just the worst.
Christoph Graves was an over the top villain.
Uh-huh.
Really, nobody in The World Is Not Enough is. I mean, there's a guy that can't feel pain, but that outside
of the head.
Yeah.
He was mostly just boring.
Yeah.
I guess Javier Bardem's. He's close. He's pretty close to over the top.
There's moments where you're like laughing.
Over the top. When I'm saying over the top, larger than life, I'm talking about like people, like the public is clearly knows who this person
I
is,
see,
but doesn't
I
know
see.
that they're like insane.
Yeah,
Okay.
in that case, yeah, definitely Carver, definitely Gustav Graves, and definitely Dominic Green.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to, but to answer your earlier question, would this film be better if Roger Moore was younger? For me personally, there are moments
Personally?
there are moments when he's just so distractingly old. Like
Oopsie daisy punch.
the oopsie
face.
daisy punch doesn't help.
He
He
rocks that leather jacket though.
He does. I was telling Rich this. Apparently, they had to thicken his hair every day, and it shows in some shots.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like mohair.
Well, I was reading on the IMDb thing too that like he had like cosmetic surgery done before this movie.
Which you can see at the eyes.
You can definitely see
Because
it.
his eyes look like they're trying to get the fuck out.
For your eyes only. Yeah.
His face looks like you've seen all the Star Trek movies now.
Oh yeah, I have.
Star Trek Insurrection, that race of aliens that get their skin stretched over their face.
Oh yeah.
That's
Shit.
Roger Moore.
Is that the Tom Hardy one?
No,
That's Nemesis?
That's Nemesis. Insurrection's the one where F. Murray Abraham's the bad guy.
That's right. Yeah. That's fucked. Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite Christopher Walken moment in this film?
Boys, you go first. I got to think about this.
Mine's either when he's on the computer looking up Bond, and as like the information's coming in, and you see the look on his face and the sounds where he's making. He's like, and the look on his face as he's doing is great. Or when he kills all of the miners and he's laughing as he's just shooting everybody.
It's gonna sound awful, but that's a damn good one. That's a classic Christopher Walken. I mean, the karate thing, him like the elevator sequence. It's just his body language and how like gleeful he is as he's lighting everything and just fucking burning around him. But yeah, the fucking shooting all the people, laughing like a madman, is pretty 80s. Like you get that in Temple of Doom in the beginning.
Yep.
Me and my buddy Chris used to always think that was so funny, like the bad guy, like that cliched bad guy firing a Tommy gun while laughing.
Yeah, that's years before both of these films. Years before Dick Tracy too.
Oh,
because that's
and Home Alone.
Oh yeah, well Dick Tracy's got it with Flat Top at the end.
Eat lead, Tracy.
Me and my brother used to tell each other to eat lead, Tracy, all the time. We thought that was so funny, like eat lead, Tracy. Eat lead.
What's the name of the movie they watch in Home Alone where the it's like Angels with Dirty Faces or something, where the guy's just shooting
Angels with
his Tommy gun?
Angels with Dirty Souls, because Angels with Dirty Faces is an actual film starring Humphrey Bogart. Angels with Dirty Souls.
That's right.
Yeah. And I quoted that while Christopher Walken was machine gunning his men while I was watching it with Rich. I was just like, "Merry Christmas, you filthy animals!" Garrett, do you have a favorite Christopher Walken moment?
I mean, for me, it's either the shooting everybody and laughing hysterically, or just more power.
Sam would always play that. He'd be like, "Hey, remember this?"
I mean,
I feel like there was a period in time where Sam just had that like queued up on his phone.
Oh yeah,
and he'd just be sitting there like in a meeting or something, and just be like, "You know what we need right now?
Yeah.
More
power.
More power."
And then that birthed the cowbell.
Yeah.
That's where it all comes from. Yeah. Grace Jones, always kind of. I mean, again, a lot of the marketing kind of has her as like the big bad more than Christopher Walken. I mean, she goes for fucking broke in this movie too.
She does.
But like, the difference is like she's actually intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and then she also
I feel kind of like the way the movie was constructed when they got down into the mine and she's there with Bond and she finds out that Zoran doesn't give a shit about her and he's not a good dude. I think that they kind of they didn't know what they wanted to do with her character, and it just felt like it was all kind of like, let's throw shit against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of the theme of this entire movie when you watch it. I mean, it's a very slapsticky movie. You know, like even the car chase, the cop chase in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like that didn't look stylish or sleek or Bond-like at all. Like it would look like a really, really bad rendition of something you'd see in like a cheesy 80s action movie. You know?
Yeah.
It is Fuck It, the movie. Yeah.
I remember turning to Rich while we were watching this and the Beach Boys came on, and I was just like, so just mark your watches. It's like we're like 10 minutes in and we're already at self-parody, and Rich was just like, we're not that far in. Because there's the car chase through Paris with the half taxi sucks.
Yep.
The fire truck chase sucks.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. Talk about looking bad. The fire truck
with like the Keystone cops behind them the entire time.
Yeah.
Harris,
Yep.
you can forget that sergeant promotion, and I'm gonna dock $100 from a month from your salary. And the fact that fucking Zoran has a booby-trapped steeplechase course in his backyard just in case. Like it's a movie that like I'm watching this and I'm like, who are you making this for? Because it isn't. You're trying to make.
There's one guy who saw it and was like, "Fuck yeah, man! This has got it all." He loves Deer Hunter, the Beach Boys, fire trucks, flames, maniacal laughter,
And old dudes.
and whoopsie daisy punch face. Oh, I'm sorry.
Here it comes.
It's worse than Creed does it in Rocky.
II?
Yeah, is it? Yeah, Rocky 2. Yeah, get your cabs ready. And Rocky still gets hit in the face.
Yeah, full.
Because he's like, my fucking power is getting hit in the face a lot. They get tired and I get stronger. I get dumber. I mean stronger. Can't get dumber if you're already dumb. Rocky is my favorite movie, so props to Rocky.
Though he's smart in Rocky 3.
He's smart. Yeah, he's a totally new person in Rocky 3.
It was the roids.
Rocky 4, he becomes... Rocky 3, every time I watch it, I'm scared for Stallone's health.
Because you can see like the lines of his face.
Yeah, he looks like the first Justice League cartoon Superman. That's a deep pull.
Wow.
It's a deep pull for all you Justice League cartoon fans in there. Yeah, and then 4, he's back to like lovable goof. 5, he's brain dead. And then Balboa, he owns a restaurant. And it's awesome. Let me tell you about my fights. I just want my ravioli, Balboa. Get the fuck out of here.
Then we heard the best sound you could ever want to hear.
Yeah.
The bell.
The bell. I wish that place was real, man.
Oh, Adrian's?
I would go there.
They're supposed to start filming in the next couple months.
That's right. Creed 2.
We should make a pilgrimage, and we have to
yeah.
go to the Rocky Steps and hope that happens to be the day that they're filming at the Rocky Steps.
God. I've only run up the steps once.
Did you do it in a single go?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was tiring, but like surprisingly, I mean, I'm out of shape, so it's not that surprising. But I was like, oh, there's like a lot more steps.
That's why you need a dune buggy to drive up the
Oh
steps.
my God, yeah, that video of the Eagles fans. Amazing. I mean, that's the most like Philadelphia thing I've ever seen.
Back times.
We're going to the Super Bowl. Get the dune buggy. We're going up the Rocky Steps. The only thing that bummed me out is the video I saw. No one had put the Rocky music over top of it. I'm sure someone has by now, but
yeah.
But I mean, that's just genius. But yeah, that thing you're referring to, Sam, was it kids or like just fans or whatever ran up the steps, the Rocky Steps,
And Rocky, when they
got to the top, Stallone was there.
Yeah, they were filming. It was in the middle of filming Rocky 6.
Yeah,
and it's in the special features. Like this dude's like, "Hey man, I just saw the steps, decided to run up, and there
you are." He's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I am."
Yeah.
It's
like a guru,
yeah, that's fucking nuts.
a rare guru that used to show up every other year in the 80s and now shows up once a decade.
Yeah. Stallone.
I was just thinking about this now when you're talking about every other year. I was thinking like if you look at Roger Moore's tenure as Bond, it seems like every other Bond was a quote-unquote good one, entertaining one. But like when they finished, what was it, The Man with the Golden Gun, and they really needed the next one to be a hit, or they thought that it might be the end of James Bond.
Yeah. So they go for broke.
Title's escaping me at this point in time.
Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah, this is Spy Who Loved Me. He jumps off with the Union Jack coming out, but like if this is the movie that follows The Man with the Golden Gun, they're fucked.
Yeah.
You know, like if Moonraker is the one that follows The Man with the Golden Gun,
You bite your tongue.
But it's very much how like it always kind of seems, and maybe that's kind of been Bond since maybe I guess Connery left, but like at this point it's very rare that we get back to back like phenomenal Bonds, even through the Craig era.
My argument to that is I would argue Roger Moore had a really good center period, and the bookends aren't like Live and Let Die's fine, but I think it's weaker than anything in that golden stretch of Roger Moore that goes from The Spy Who Loved Me to For Your Eyes Only. Because even, we've...
But Moonraker's in that stretch.
Yeah, well, yeah. But, like Garrett said, it's kind of Roger Moore and Excelsi's. It's Roger Moore at... it's maximum Moore. For better or worse.
Sure.
And I think the bookends of Roger Moore, where they're figuring out he's not Sean Connery or George Lazenby. And the end when
I think everybody knew that he wasn't like a, wooden man. So
it's never happened to the other film. I quit. Bond ain't shit.
Bond won't survive the 60s.
Yeah. Bond 25.
And then the latter bookend for Sir Roger, where he's too old and they don't know what to do with the franchise. Yeah, because at least there was kind of like a mission statement for Your Eyes Only, like let's bring him down to earth, let's make him like he was in the books again. Octopus, they're just like he's in India. And like with this movie, they're like, I think the problem with this movie, it's let's have some fun with it, but let's make it cool and edgy too, because this is like we were kind of alluding to, Zorin kills more dudes on screen than any other Bond villain, probably still. Like there are moments where like, oh, this is a tough, mean Bond movie, and then there's moments like, who are you? Like again, the fire truck. He's even more violent than fucking Sanchez in License to Kill in terms of like death. Surely, and body count. Yeah. Yeah. And Mayday is I think a much meaner villain than Jaws.
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
Have a nice honeymoon.
That's always the line.
That's the line.
But there are just moments. I remember watching the ski chase. I was like, actually, I know this isn't Sir Roger, but that's actually a pretty good ski chase. That's really the only action sequence maybe that does it for me in the entire thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Because it's not the steeplechase.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not any of the fist fights, like zero of the fist fights.
When Bond meets what's her name for the first time?
Stacey Sutton.
Thank you. And he has the salt pellet like rifle or whatever.
Oh, well, yeah. When he rescues her at her mansion,
and he goes up to like introduce himself, he puts the rifle down, like muzzle up towards his face, and puts his hands on it like it's a fucking cane. And I'm like, are you an insane person?
Well, he's expended all the rock salt, I presume.
I don't know, man. I don't know. He should know better. Gun safety 007.
Also, what were you saying, Rich? What were you saying about Q's random ass robot? Speaking of the Sutton Mansion, that they just kind of shoehorned it in. Like you were like, Star Wars has one, so we need one.
Oh yeah. The little robot that kind of just rolls along the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another aspect of this movie where it's like, oh, this worked in this other movie. Let's just throw that in here, and then maybe we can make a toy out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a movie that I think it's also... We talk about the Roger Moore era films being products of their time. I think, we mentioned as much with the Octopussy episode last time, but at this point, there's like... At the year that this movie comes out, 85, there's 2 Rambo movies. Commando comes out. There's... the first Terminator is out. 48 Hours is out. Basically, all these like really better, like the action movie has evolved. The modern action movie basically exists now. What we consider the modern action movie really has come into fore. And so I think the big reason there's been a law of diminishing returns in terms of Bond box office ever since, like, Moonraker's the peak commercially, if you don't adjust for inflation. And since then, it's steadily decreased. And this is, up until License to Kill, this is the low point of this downswing. Because it actually goes up for The Living Daylights. Living Daylights is the highest-grossing Bond film since For Your Eyes Only. Probably because a lot of audiences were like, oh, new Bond, let's see what this is. Not so much, hey, it's The Living Daylights.
Yeah. And they do, like you're saying with the terms of the modern action film, they really go for broke like in the beginning and the end of that movie in terms, stunts, and they really try to, they really ramp up. They ask, Aston Martin's back and obviously a younger Bond, a more serious Bond. I mean, we'll get into all that when we get into the greatest era of Bond, the Timothy Dalton era. But like, as a teaser for the changes. I mean, that must have been so fucking weird for audiences, like. We had talked about before, like Rich, I think you were saying, like, dads were taking their kids to see Bond now. They grew up with Sean Connery, or, they would have had that, maybe that age range, where they would have been.
There's like a 23-year-old difference now.
Yeah. And so then it's like, oh shit, like here's this new Bond. I mean, that's crazy, I mean, I remember, I can even, remember that with Brosnan seeing, Die Another Day and then going to see Casino Royale and being like, holy shit. The difference in, quality, but then also just the difference in tone and performance, That's one of the exciting things about when you get a new Bond.
Here's a fucking crazy thing, and you guys can, like, shit yourselves over this if you want.
Okay.
So this year, or this film, View to a Kill, 23 years since the start of the franchise in 1962 with Dr. No.
Mm-hmm.
This year, 2018, 23 years since GoldenEye.
Fuck.
Yep.
No more foreplay.
So, what for you guys is we've kind of danced around this. What is the fucking shittiest thing about A View to a Kill?
Oh
God.
I mean, hasn't this whole episode dissected that?
What takes you out of A View to a Kill? Is it Tanya Roberts' acting? Is it the plot? Is it the editing?
Honestly, it's probably all of the chemistry that all the actors had with each other. Like, Walken looked like he was just there to have a grand old time, and which is great, and he did a great job. But Grace Jones and Moore didn't want to be, I think, on the same fucking set, let alone in the same scene.
He says as much in the autobiography, yeah.
Moore was like, wasn't he mortified of his age compared to, I think it was Tanya Roberts' mother?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like older than her mother. And he was like, time to go. I mean, that's pretty insane, watching the movie. You can't help but be like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Her character was Tanya Roberts' character was pretty incompetent and pretty unwatchable once she started talking. It's just not a good movie. It's time to go. That's the best way to say it. Like, it's over. Have fun writing your memoirs now, Roger, and going back to being a pat, because it's over.
Yeah, because after this, he basically, like, he'll do the occasional thing like, Spice World or Boat Trip.
He was an Alias.
Alias, yeah, that's right.
Another recurring role.
Yeah.
I think it's just, seeing more like this in the movie, is kind of a bummer. Like you're saying, physically he looks better than, say, maybe like Octopussy, but it's just, all of it with just another example of like the, excess of Bond just going, too long with more, and, Rich, I think you brought up a good point about the editing. It is kind of a fucking all over the place.
It was a lazy movie.
Yeah, and there's nothing like, aside from us talking about like Walken and the theme, it's like there's not a moment where we're like, oh shit, remember that fucking awesome thing? Remember that awesome chase? Remember that awesome, action beat?
Yeah, like a lot of the trouble with saying like, oh, what's the moment that takes you out of this movie is that you're never really in this movie in the first place.
That's a great point.
Like there are a couple of things that are, I guess noteworthy that you can point to and say, oh, that was kind of cool. But like by and large, like it's not a film that you can put on in the background and just kind of watch and it'll be okay. It's kind of a film where like, okay, you maybe stick around for the highlights and then get the fuck out once the thing you wanted to see is done. Like,
who looked worse, Roger Moore in A View to a Kill or Sean Connery in Diamonds Are Forever?
My heart wants to go Diamonds Are Forever just because I still really don't like that movie. I'm going to say Diamonds Are Forever still because, like you were saying, more from the neck down, still could rock a suit, man.
Well, I think a lot of that is he was personally mortified how old he looked in the previous two films. Because as far as I know, the cosmetic surgery and all that wasn't like studio mandated or producer mandated, director mandated. It was like, oh, I look so old.
Yeah.
And so that's why he basically got a facelift.
Yeah.
And worked out. Because he knew coming out of Octopussy that he was on for one more movie. Because when he renegotiated for Octopussy, he added on a sequel. He's like, yeah, I'll keep doing this, fine. And with that, he's like, this will be my comeback. This will be me leaving on a high note as he works out. Can you imagine? First off, can you imagine Roger Moore working out?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
Sir Roger.
Yeah, give weights, more weights, and he's just like
jacked Roger Moore.
Yeah.
Where's that action figure?
I just picture Roger Moore showing up to the gym in that white dinner jacket and hitting all the women.
Yeah.
I hope we won't get too sweaty. Be like, yeah, we're running 5 miles.
Yeah, raises an eyebrow.
Yeah.
Just,
5 miles? Yes, Roger, 5 miles. 2 miles? 5 miles. 1 mile. Oh, man.
Ancient Moore.
I love the guy, though.
Oh, yeah.
I love Roger Moore.
We all.
I mean, I guess we could, this is the end of the Moore era.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the late, great Sir Roger Moore?
Give her a good one, Raj.
Is that it?
Apparently, like, people would ask, like, did you ever get, like, aroused or anything or attracted to your co-stars while you were filming love scenes? And he's like, no, because the entire crew was there, and they'd be like, hey, oi, Raj, give her a good one, eh?
Give her a good one, eh, Raj?
And so he's like, so no, I never had to worry about that.
Yeah, that's fucking insane, man. That's insane.
Ever the gentleman. The gentleman. That's the thing. Like, Sean Connery isn't the gentleman spy. I mean, he has suave moments, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still a little rough around the edges. George Lazenby is, mark your calendar, Garrett. Mark your fucking calendar when I say this, is maybe not as charismatic as Bond should be.
Maybe.
I'm conceding a bit.
No one else could be Roger Moore's Bond.
Roger Moore is the quintessential gentleman spy.
No, we've talked about all the different Bonds already, multiple times, and it's always been, it's like, bringing back more of this, more of that. It's, the Dalton or the Connery or the Moore with the books. Moore was the only one who could do Roger Moore. Now, of course, there's humor and stuff in other Bond movies, but the gentleman's spy, the lover, like he always said, not the fighter. Nobody else, nobody else.
Nobody could do it better.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody else could do the more better than more. And I know people go, oh no shit, but like, in terms of Bond, a lot of, I think the performances, even the great ones, piggyback off of elements of other Bonds, but it's really, really hard. I think we'll never. I think it's be near impossible to ever see a Roger Moore-esque performance done well, Spectre.
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah,
and
no, I would agree with that. I mean, if you were to go back and listen to some of our older episodes, certainly the Connery episodes, I was very critical of the Moore era and the Moore movies, and after now watching all of them, I definitely do appreciate them a lot more than I did, maybe 6-7 months ago. With Moore, it was the heights were really, really high, but the lows were really, really low. And there wasn't, for me, a lot of stuff that was like, it was good. Like, to me, like, Roger Moore at his best is a Hall of Famer. Like, and his movies in his era, they're phenomenal. But then when you get to the other stuff, it's bad, and there's really not a lot in between. That's kind of how I view his era of Bond.
Garrett, you are our biggest Roger Moore proponent.
We have left the garden, and it is all downhill from here. The golden age is over. No, I mean,
that's
there's.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, I love Dalton, but Dalton, I think that's fair to say, like the golden era of Bond. And
certainly the classic era.
Yeah, classic. That's not a diss, towards. I don't take it as a diss towards like Bond. I mean, but yeah, the beginning of the new era definitely takes place with the Dalton stuff.
Yeah,
I think when you get to, we're gonna get to GoldenEye, which I think GoldenEye is kind of, to me, feels in a lot of places and in a lot of ways kind of a callback to some of the more conventionally appreciated Moore films. But like beyond that, there's a good case to be made that a lot of the stuff that happens past GoldenEye isn't even really. And especially once you get to Daniel Craig, there's a really good case to be made that the Craig movies aren't really Bond films.
I would disagree with that. I would respectfully disagree with that. I think Casino Royale and Skyfall are two of the truest iterations of Bond that Fleming ever put on paper.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's never really been what the Bond films are, though. And there's such a massive tonal shift when you go to Dalton that never really gets pulled all the way out, and like, yeah,
he was a hero who murdered in cold blood.
Yeah, but like, and that kind of edge, sticks through all of the films that come after. Like, even when you're looking at Connery, who is when Judi Dench in what is it, Casino Royale, is talking about how Bond is a blunt instrument, she could have just as well been talking about Sean Connery as Daniel Craig.
Sure.
But even though he is that kind of blunt instrument, he's not really. There's not that thuggish element to him in the same way that starts to show up with Dalton and kind of sticks with the franchise going forward. You never really. There's something I think that's lost that's never really regained, and I don't know that it would be really possible to go back, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see where you're coming from in that regard. Like, without getting too much into Dalton, because we're gonna be able to have 2 entire episodes on him. The Living Daylights and License to Kill are very much like massive overcorrections for the excess and kind of the whole tone of the Moore era. And to your point about GoldenEye, like I think that movie, maybe it's just because it only took place like 8 or 9 years after A View to a Kill. It kind of balanced a lot of the lightheartedness that Moore had, along with like the brutality that that Dalton brought to the role. And that may have just been because Brosnan, I mean, was nothing short of phenomenal in that role and in that movie. You know, you kind of gave him the means to be brutal where it made sense in, you know, going after Trevelyan, but there was still enough lighthearted and enough fun moments in that movie to kind of be a callback to the Moore era.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it's, I don't know. I know that when it was somewhere in the Connery episodes where it was shortly after Sir Roger Moore died, and we kind of had the brief memorial to him, just, you know, talking again about what either Sam or Jake was saying. You know, the guy was just always just fucking amazing to his fans. You know, the story about him seeing the kid in the airport and then meeting the guy like 20 years later or whatever it was on the set of something.
Mm-hmm.
And calling back to it, you know, just being, you know, just absolutely the greatest guy on the planet. And, you know, I love these movies. They're, you know, they're amazing. They're a lot of fun. And, you know, probably nothing like them has nothing like, you know, exactly like them has ever been made, and probably nothing ever will. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Sir Roger, for, you know, 7 films that, because even on a rainy day, I can watch the worst of the James Bond movies, and yeah, maybe in the background like Jake, but I can always put one on that's comfort food. It's good background noise.
Yes.
And this film included, because were there moments where like Rich and I were laughing our asses off? Maybe not intentionally. Yeah, you know. So, I guess this is the moment where we tip our hats to Sir Roger.
Pour another martini.
Pour another martini, and usher in the era of, I guess I'll go ahead and knight him, Sir Timothy Dalton.
Yeah, it's only a matter. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. So I think with that, this has been another installment of From Geek Out with Love. I'm Sam.
I'm Jake.
I'm Rich.
I'm Garrett.
Goodbye, James Bond. This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, you know, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.